Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 29 of Trapped in My Mind. I'm your host, Seth, and today with me, I got Angelo.
Hey.
Did I catch you by surprise there?
No, I'm used to getting teased about it, honestly.
I'm not teasing you. Isn't that like your actual name?
Yeah, it is my actual name.
But you go by Angelo.
I do. It's my middle name. I'm a junior, actually. I'm the second Michelangelo.
Really?
Tortora the second, yeah.
Okay, I did not know that.
Mm-hmm.
So, Pete, does anybody ever call you Junior?
No, actually. It's always been Angelo. Just to, make sure that doesn't confuse me and my dad.
Do you know what the difference is between Junior and like the second?
I feel like it's the same thing. Interchangeable.
Okay.
I guess it really just depends on what the family wants to make it.
Okay. See, I thought it was like if you had the exact same name, like middle name and all, then it'd be like you're the second. But if it wasn't the same middle name, then it's Junior.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
But I don't fucking know. I feel like I just heard that.
Like someone's dad's like Tony, then you're Tony Jr., but your middle name's like Mike, but his middle name's like Andrew or something.
Yeah.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
I don't know if that's true, but I guess somebody can fact check me on that.
I need a junior to fact check me because I spoke for both of us. Sorry.
But so does your dad have the same middle name as you?
Yeah, like the same exact name.
So then you could be the second.
I am the second. It's on my birth certificate.
Okay.
It's on my driver's license too.
So then you're not a junior, or maybe all seconds are juniors, but not all juniors are seconds. Kind of like squares and rectangles.
That's fair. That's actually. I mean, again, I don't want to speak for juniors, but I feel like that was a very accurate statement.
Well, I have a high following of juniors, so they'll let us know if you're misspoken.
All right.
But anyway, man, thanks for coming. We worked with each other for a little bit there.
Yeah.
Not gonna plug where, because don't know if I should. But it was good times. Anyway, I'm glad you reached out to come on. I guess one of the first questions I'd like to ask is what made you kind of want to come on.
Well, I mean, I kind of just saw you say, if anyone wants to be on this podcast, I'm starting. I was like, you know what? I mean, I feel like I'm pretty good at holding conversation, even if sometimes I don't know what I'm talking about, but that's just kind of how it goes. I mean, like we talked at work and stuff. I know you're passionate about podcasting. Like I remember you would always talk about it, and you'd always like talk about like, oh, if you listen to this podcast, you listen to this podcast, So I figured if any time was to, see if I could be on one, it would be with you trying to start one. So just kind of seemed natural.
I dig that. Yeah. I for a while there, I think your desk was right across from mine, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. So yeah, we did talk a little bit about it. Anyway, I will say so normally how this goes is, and people who are listening might know because I explain this every once in a while, I send a list of topics to people and say, is there anything that you want to talk about? Or if not anything on this list, do you have anything? And I will say, I think you brought up something that, and your brief explanation of it was probably the most interesting topic that somebody presented to me.
Really?
In my opinion. I remember I was with Mackenzie, we were in the car, I'm like, holy shit, that's a good point. So anyway, I guess I'll introduce that as altruism, and I know you made some different points on it, but what were you thinking when you brought that one up?
Well, I guess it was more of, I kind of watched like, random like history documentary stuff sometimes, and I was watching a documentary and a guy had found a skull of Homo erectus, which is like one of our most recent ancestors, and he had filled in teeth, like his teeth were missing, but they had been like filled in over with bone, like they had healed over. So he'd lost his teeth, which means that he had lived a very long life without having teeth, which suggests that, people in his clan or his tribe or his village or whatever specifically took out time to make sure that he was taken care of, because that he had soft food to eat and he had warm places to sleep, which means that people have been, thinking about, the benefit of other people's lives for, 1.7 million years at this point, which is fascinating to me. So. And
then that takeaway was kind of explained in the show you were watching?
Yeah. It was, I just kind of found that point fascinating. So then I thought of like, well, what is the word for, caring for other people? Like, is that a thing? Or selflessly caring for other people, even though there's no benefit to you? Like, what was the benefit of keeping this old guy alive for all those years? You know what I mean? Like, what was the point? I'm sure, times were hard on wherever they were living. I mean, it was a wild world back then. I'm not going to pretend like I know what it was like to live 1.5 million years ago.
Sure.
But I just found it fascinating because I feel like that kind of stuff doesn't exist as much today, where you selflessly are looking after other people, or you do things that seem selfless, but it's really just to show how for other people
good of a person you are. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I thought that was interesting because so the way, and actually I might just pull up your text. The way you said it to me was like, damn, dude. You go, if you don't mind me reading.
Oh yeah, go for it.
So you go, so this topic is altruism. Does altruism truly exist? Mm-hmm. Is it a good thing to be selfless? This is something I've been looking into recently. I've learned that the characteristic of looking after others, even at the risk of your own life, has been around for around 1.7 million years. Living an altruistic life has been found to lead to living a happier life free of depression. I find it a little odd. That's what you said. Well, actually, I'll let you explain it. Mm-hmm. Why do you find it a little odd? If you remember what your opinion was on that.
I think what I said was I found it odd that people who live, selflessly or to, help nurture like a good life for other people. They always say that they're free of depression because they kind of are living vicariously and making sure everyone mm-hmm. is happy and that they're happy as well. And I feel like today people always are saying that they're living selflessly, like all these posts, you see all the time, like, oh, do this, and if you don't do this, you're a bad person, blah, 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 blah. But I feel like today people are more depressed than ever, for a society that is so, moving in the right direction in terms of what it means to be a good person. Because I feel, at least from what I've seen, I'm not going to speak for everybody who makes, huge posts on social media about, current events and things like that. But I feel like the bar is set so low for what it means to do the right thing. Because before it was, you go out and you help your community, you help other people. And now the bare minimum is, oh, I made my post in my story.
Yeah.
I'm real. Good. And it's like, did that really initiate any change at all? Probably not.
Yeah. And that's, so I mean, there was a lot of that over this past year, yes. A lot of it. Mm-hmm. And I was kind of torn in that situation too, because for one, I don't think it's really doing much, right? I don't think me posting, let's just say, a black square, mm-hmm. and I did it.
Oh, me too.
But that's, I don't really see that that's helping anything. Mm-hmm. But then if you say that, I would have those conversations, and people who would get kind of defensive about it would be like, well, you're raising awareness. It's like, yeah, but if you care as much as you say you are, why don't you do more than post a fucking square? Mm-hmm. And then you judge people who don't post a square.
Mm-hmm. That's what I mean.
That's not.
They're like, well, I did. Look I did the thing I'm supposed to do. Look at my phone. Yeah, I did it.
And so that makes and that's the, like you said, that's the bare minimum that makes you a good person, is if you just fucking do these societal trends of posting something to your story or posting something that literally just represents something, but you have no actual actions to back up what you just posted. Mm-hmm. Or lots of times you're not even educated in what you posted. You'll post something, you don't even really know why, it's just you saw other people post it.
Yeah.
But your point of, and you pretty much said what you did on the text, if it's a known study, research has shown that if you are living by putting others before yourself, naturally you live a happier life because there is meaning to your life, essentially.
Yeah.
And if people are saying that they're doing that more now than ever, then why is depression and suicide more prevalent now than ever?
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense. The only thing I could think that would possibly make sense is, well, maybe there's a bigger population now than there was before, so now it looks like there's more depression and more suicide. But if you look at the rates, is there? I don't know. I never did the research, but it is strange, because you'd think if everyone's actually doing these selfless things, for one, I think community would be better off than it is now. For two, people would be happier, and you just don't see that, especially in our age group.
Yeah, no, that's kind of what I mean. I feel like, I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of somebody, these people that I feel like you can get a vibe from someone on their social media, if they're doing all right or not. You know what I mean? And I feel like they'll post all this stuff, and I feel like, I don't know, they post it, and I feel like as soon as they press boom, it's on my story, they just lock their phone and just go back in for a depression nap or something. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. They're like, oh, well, I did what I'm supposed to do, and I think I'm a good person because I did it. But I feel like they know that they really didn't make any impact, and I think that's where the sadness comes from. You know what I mean? I feel like I don't know, maybe they just feel helpless.
No, I think
because things are so far gone in some parts. You know what I mean? Like I feel like situations like all the stuff that's been happening this last year with like, you know, civil rights and stuff like that, and like equality and equality between races, especially. I feel like people just realize like how just messed up some people can be, and just how it's really, we're not exactly as far along as like a society as we thought we were in terms of like how we think about other people and how we think of as like a community. I think that hit a lot of people really hard this year, where they thought that the world was so much more good, you know, and then they kind of saw like a lot of ugly side of a lot of people. So I don't know, I feel like that combined with them also having to like do this fake, you know, facade on social media kind of just like drove a lot of people crazy this last year.
Oh, for sure, especially being stuck inside. It probably just amplified the loneliness.
Yeah.
But I like your point of you said people would like post these things to make it seem like they're good, and then what would make them sad or upset is that they realize that they know that they're not really doing much good. Like they would, and I think that part is true. Like if for example, people think that they want to do the right thing and they think that they care, and so they'll post it, and then they realize like, well, if I really want to help, there's a lot more work I have to do, and I just don't have it in me. Like I just don't care.
That's what I mean.
And so they almost get like, and this is my opinion, I feel like people almost get upset that they don't care more.
Yeah.
And I would say I'm guilty of that to a certain extent. Like I'd like to care about things, and I say I would, but am I out there doing something about it? Certain things, yeah. Certain things, no. But yeah, that's a good point. It is kind of weird to think about, but and I mean, just another thing too. Not even with like social media, but just in general. Like I don't know. Actually, going back to the social media thing. So when people do good things, they feel the need to fucking broadcast it. Like those YouTubers who be like, I just bought this homeless guy lunch. It's like, that's not living selfless. Like, yeah, it's good that you did
that. It's a whole vlog of them just like taking this dude to like get like a haircut, and then just gonna like throw him back on the street again. I'm like, why don't you just like help him get a job or something, like at your company, or like, I don't know, you know, like these YouTubers were making like millions of dollars. And again, I'm not gonna speak for someone who made their own empire of like, you know, content and shit like that. Like all respect to them, but it's like, I don't know. It just feel like you're just kind of rubbing it in their face. Like, here's all this cool stuff I can give you, but also go back outside.
Yeah, I also I wonder if like these people who are being helped are wondering like, why you want to help me, and they just see fucking cameras in their face, and then as soon as the deed's done, they just walk away.
Yeah,
just kind of like, oh, okay, well, thanks for a good day, I suppose. But yeah, I think, and that's the thing with like social media. I feel like you can use it kind of two ways in that regard. One of them is to show like the things you're doing just to make yourself look good. And then I think the other way is you could use social media to help get support, to get more people to help you with what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
And I think that way it's a positive thing. But that's another thing too, is now when people do it that way, here, I'll just fucking say for me. So like I'm trying to raise money for children's mental health, right? And I almost feel like, ooh, maybe I shouldn't even broadcast it on social media because I don't want people to think that I'm like thinking I'm good about myself because I'm trying to help. But if I don't use social media, no one will know about it, and I won't be able to sell any shirts to benefit like this charity. You know what I mean? So it's like, because I know there's so many people that do shit on social media just to make themselves look good, I almost am skeptical of using it as a platform to get more engagement.
That's different. I mean, you're creating your own thing, and it's a lot different to create your own thing to attract more awareness, to help the cause, that's the thing, is like you're inspiring action and money like flow for that kind of like funding. It's different for somebody who just posts like, things that are messed up about this on your story, and it's like one of those things where you just keep swiping, and it's just like an infographic for like 30 fucking pictures. You know what I'm talking about? Basically what I'm saying is what you're doing is much different. So I don't think I mean, again, I'm not going to speak for you, but I feel like you don't have to think that it's that kind of situation, honestly.
I know it is different. That's why ultimately I decide I'm going to use social media to do it. But I will say, like, it still based on what I see from others, it questions like what it makes me question myself. Like, should I even do this? Because I don't want people to fucking see me as this guy who's out here trying to show how good he is. And it's just because I hate fucking seeing that on social media. And it is most of the time with like YouTubers or like TikTokers. But, I mean, that's a different conversation. But fuck, you said something that I had a point to make, but now I'm forgetting it. That's been happening a lot to me recently.
That's all right. Well, I was just saying how, like, you know, it's just a lot different the way you're doing it as opposed to like the people who just post like those cringy, like, oh my God, how it'll be anything nowadays. Like how tying your shoes is immoral or like something stupid. It's just like a slide of just like, this is how you should be doing it. You know what I'm talking about?
And that's a question. I guess that's a question for you. Cause dude, I like really hardly ever look at anyone's stories. And even if it says I watched it, I probably just like skip through it just cause I was bored and mindless. But, do you think, point I'm trying to make, like out of probably, let's say 50 stories, I would say on any given day, about 30 of them, somebody has, like, if they can have multiple stories, but they somewhere in their story for that day, they have a post that's like, drink your water, like, make sure you don't pollute, make sure, like, just like bullshit. Well, not bullshit, but like tips of like how to be a better person.
Yeah.
Do you think those do anything, or do you think that's more so like, I guess what's your thoughts on that?
I mean, I guess it depends on the context. But I mean, yeah, people just like do that stuff just to be like, look I care about the environment. And I'm sitting here, I'm like, I know you drive your car just as much as everyone else does. I know you have waste. You're a human. Like everything we have, everything we consume. Where do you think trash goes? It doesn't just disappear and just throw it out into space. You know what I mean? Like it all goes somewhere. Every human has an absolute metric fuck ton of waste of, you know, containers or whatever they bought, all that stupid knickknack stuff that they have. Like there's a heaping pile that every single human has stacked up somewhere in the world. You know what I mean? So
look at your house. Your house has a bunch of waste in it.
That's what I mean. I mean, like, I don't know. Again, it's all like a show, and like if you really just ask them about it in person, like they always like freeze up and they're like, oh yeah, I totally am passionate about the ocean.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, but what about it? And they're like, the coral reefs or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're all dying.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And it's just like, it's like, can you even try to lie to me or something? Like, did you even do like half research to like have a fake conversation about it? You know, I don't know.
And that's the thing too. Is like, once you like, if your goal is to look good about that, then wouldn't you expect conversation to come from what you're posting? So shouldn't you prepare to kind of follow the conversation on those things?
That's why I mean, like, I don't know how much like you post about kind of certain things, but I mean, I don't really do any of that kind of stuff, simply because I don't want to like be a poser. You know what I mean? Obviously I care about the environment. Obviously I care about that kind of stuff. It's just like, I'm not going to be the one who is throwing it in everyone's face. And then if somebody comes and asks me about it and has a question, I'm not going to be like, well, I actually don't know anything to help you because I'm full of shit. You know what I mean? Like everyone cares about the environment. It's just difficult in, I guess the term is, you know, think or like act locally, think globally about like, you know, like how to like make the small changes for like environmental safety and stuff like that. But even a big part of it is really just like industrial companies is really like we're like all of the, or not all,
a big majority.
Yeah. So I guess that's what discourages people is that they know that what they do isn't really going to make much of an impact on it in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah. But I mean, I think there's small things everybody can do, but again, but you don't have to post about it.
Yeah.
But that's the thing too. So like for the people who post like self-help routines on their story or I hate to keep using the same example, but I know I just saw it was like Black Lives Still Matter. It's like, yeah, we know that.
Yes.
And do you think, I mean, whether or not these people who are posting these things actually will go out and do action, if it makes them feel better about themselves, is it such a bad thing that they're doing it? Does that make sense?
No, yeah, I think it makes sense.
Okay,
yeah.
So what's your opinion on that?
I mean, if they're going out and they're like really, again, and like that's where I do think that sometimes it does have a good impact, because I mean, some people really didn't understand the perspective of what it's like to be another, you know, color in America until like some black people were on social media being so vocal about it. You know what I mean? And a lot of course, I mean, like there was a lot of white people, you know, and of all colors actually, like they were posting stuff, you know, like spreading awareness of like try to put yourself in their shoes. And I feel like that did some good, a lot of good. Honestly, at first, a lot of people have been thinking, you know what, everything's not just about me. But then there was the people who just kept throwing it in everyone's face, and it was just like, I care about this, I am so much better than you, I'm going to a protest. And then they just like take pictures and like post it, and then like that's like the last action that they've had. That's the only thing they actually did. And like, and I mean, correct me if like you think I'm like, it's like a kind of like stepping over the line, but it's like, if the only thing you did was go to the biggest protest in the last how many years, what are you really doing for it? You know what I mean? Like you chose like the biggest one because it was like, because at the time it was like headline news. It's like, but you're not doing the small things day to day. Like you're still not, you know, like helping try to give back to like certain organizations. Like some people like have never done a lick of community service in their life. Some people have never had to donate or have tried to like raise money for something before. They just keep posting it and like pushing on everybody else to like try and inspire some change. I'm like, if you just keep putting it in front of people and no one does anything, nothing happens. You know, like they think something's gonna happen eventually. Like somebody eventually is gonna like get like sparked to like, oh, here we go, time to change everything. You know what I mean? Yeah,
like they're this promoter for it, and they're hoping somebody sees what they're posting and does something about it, but they're not gonna. Yeah. And I wasn't just talking about the Black Lives Matter thing. That's just what I've seen a lot.
Oh no, I mean that was just I feel like that was like an example that I feel like anyone who's listening would think of probably immediately.
Yeah, but I will say what was really annoying is, so during that whole, well, it's still going on as it should be, but like when that first like. So you remember in like Detroit where like every other night there was like a protest or something like that? I wanted to see what it was like, because I kept seeing things on Twitter like, and I would say probably from like the pro-right side saying like, these protests are so violent, they are just a bunch of hooligans running around, blah, 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 blah. And so I went to one that was down the Quinter Cut, and it was like a community. Like there was, it was diverse as all. Like there was every race, every gender, anything in between, every age, and there was no violence. Everyone was just walking, you know, having a good time, and then like I feel like you could ask questions, like openly to kind of educate yourself. But it wasn't like anything that I saw on Twitter. Now, granted, I only went to one, so I don't know how the other ones were. But point being, I feel like people say shit or they hear shit and then run with it. And then it's like, well, go fact check it. Wow, my computer just like did something, but I think we're still good. Okay. So it's like go fact check it.
Yeah.
Like, it's not what you think it is, and that's the thing too. Like you were saying, I think in certain situations or for a certain amount of time, posting about something to like raise awareness can work, but eventually, awareness is already raised. What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Like you're not a good person anymore, just because you keep. All right, here it is.
Yeah.
You know?
And I mean, back to the point that you were saying, like, again, like the things that happened this summer, a lot of the protests were very peaceful. And what happened is, unfortunately, like there was some situations where, you know, some kind of like damage to property happened. And I'm just like, okay, well, that's just kind of what happens when, you know, there's like violent reciprocation from like law enforcement. You know what I mean? Like that just like, I mean, things just kind of got out of control. But again, I think it's just important for everyone to remember that, you know, the media is trying to sell you a certain narrative. Yeah. And because it's controlled by, what, like 5-6 companies? Yeah. So they can make you think whatever you want. And the more, I mean, me personally, the more hate that they drive between everybody else, the less that you pay attention to how much all those people are just absolutely destroying like the American way of life and just like, you know, taking money from people and like just getting more and more rich and stuff like that, you know? Yeah. And I feel, I mean, I don't know if people typically agree with what I said, but
who cares? It's our opinions.
That's what I mean. But I mean, I to me, it's just the truth, you know, like they want everyone to stop paying attention to them and they want everyone to start hating each other. So like when they say the protests are violent, they're not. They're just trying to make the people on this side and the people on this side look at each other and go, fuck you, and like you're doing the wrong thing, we just want to be people, but you're destroying everything, you know what I mean? Like,
and it worked.
Yeah, and it did. Worked. It's still working right now.
There's always something that's going to be, and I don't even want to say politicized, but just there's always sides, and it's always like, it has to be so extreme. And the weird thing too, and I might have said this before on the podcast, but like when you talk to people, there's a lot of people that lie in the middle, but that's never like, but that's never anything that the media says. It's always like very far extreme this side or very far extreme this side. But it's like, I know a few people who are on those sides, but the majority of the people I know are right in the middle. So if the majority of people I know are right in the middle, that might represent the majority of people of everywhere. I don't know. But more than what's given off, because we're told that there's like two sides to an issue, and there never is just, in my opinion, just two sides to an issue, and you can't find middle ground at all.
As long as they keep saying there are two sides, even as much as we all know there's really not. As long as they keep saying there is, and as long as we keep as long as we keep voting like there is only two sides, because we literally do vote like there's only two sides. You know what I mean?
Oh, I know.
So yeah, everyone knows. But I mean that whole thing is just gonna keep happening. It's gonna be a vicious cycle where it's just like people hate each other, and then we vote, and then it happens again and again and again and again. We just keep getting pitted against each other over and over again until people are like, you know what? Obviously, we all want to get along, because in real life, I mean, I feel at least that's part of like the country that we live in. I think we're in like like more people are just kind of, it's more diverse, I guess is what I'm trying to say. People are like more used to and more exposed to seeing people that don't look just like them, So I think, I lost my train of thought.
No, you're good. And I will say the thing that's annoying about like, you had to pick one side. It was reminding me of like during like the election. I flat out, I'll say it, I did not vote for Trump and I did not vote for Biden. And I remember like my friends, not all of them, so I'm not going to go by and name who was and who wasn't. Like people would be like, well, way to waste your vote. It's like, yeah, you know why it's a waste? Because you have that mindset. Like, and I understand the system's set up to like, yeah, maybe it's a wasted vote. But if we keep giving into it, then pretty soon there really is only going to be two parties. There's not going to be even an option for a different one. So it's like, that should annoy me too. It's like, so not only are you like, you not supporting what you actually believe in because you feel like there's only two sides, but you're mad that I'm trying to find a middle ground.
And that's what I mean. I think that's what a lot of people, going back to what I said earlier, a lot of people just lost faith in the world this year, or just like our country. You know what I mean? Like the way they saw a lot of the ugly, and they started like to putting a lot of the pieces together. Because I mean, like I never thought so. I never connected so many things in a row where I was just like, God, I feel like this system is just so hopeless. You know what I mean? Like we don't want to keep having these two sides, but we're stuck in a system where we have to keep doing these two sides. And it's like, how do we get out of that?
Yeah.
How do we get out of it? We can't.
With that
That's
being,
what it feels like.
I will say this past year definitely made myself question a lot of different things about the U.S. But I will still say, I still think U.S. is probably one of the best countries in terms of policies and places to live. And I understand I'm saying that as a white man, a straight white man.
Yeah.
But I mean, find me some other countries that like have more diversity and like, for example, lots of times when people say that, like when I ask like what countries are like better than us in terms of like their setup, they always point to these like what's the countries in like Norway and Sweden.
Oh, Sweden and Switzerland.
What's that called? The Scandinavian? Is that?
I think.
Either way, those like that group of countries that have like a really good like social system set up. Where's that diversity in those countries?
That's like always the big thing there. It's just like that's what I mean. Like again, things aren't exactly always sunshine and rainbows here, but I feel like we're actually really trying to be as diverse as we can. I know, and again, things in recent history, obviously, there's still some very old and unfortunately, quote unquote, traditional mindsets still going on. But again, I'm just like, there's a sense of pride where at least we're trying, to make sure that everyone's represented. We're trying. Again, we're not close, but these things take time. And I feel like a lot of us thought that this stuff has been going on for, I guess the word I'm looking for is people think that, the civil rights movement and all that stuff was so long ago, but it was very recent, and like, again, like these things just take time. And I think people are just frustrated that they have to live through these years of just seeing all this ugly turmoil. You know what I mean? That's what I mean when I say like people just kind of like lost hope, because like they realized just how long and how much change has to really occur, and how many just like awful, evil mindsets just have to just die out. And like, it's like, how do you go about making sure that those bad teachings die out? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I will say, I think this past year, what it really did was bring these conversations and these thoughts to the forefront of everyone. And for a long time, instead of just being the flavor of the month, it's kind of been a long conversation that's still like pressed everywhere. And no matter what your opinion is on it, you know about it. It's relevant. Everyone's talking about it. Everyone's trying to, like you said, we're trying. And I would just say, like, I think in any regard, whether it's race or opinions or anything, when you have diversity, whether it's age, political views, race, wealth gaps, like anything, you're going to have controversy. But that's what I think makes America so great, is that if we were all the same and we all did things the same way, and again, I don't live in like Sweden and Norway and all those countries, so I don't know how they live, but from the outside looking in, they're pretty similar. They all look pretty similar. And so, yeah, what's right for them, the same group of people, is probably easier than trying to figure out what's right with everybody in America.
That doesn't have, history of bad, really awful tension, like bad, violent history with each other. You know what I mean? Like, that's the thing, is like we're trying to make peace. And those countries never even had to worry about that kind of stuff. And again, I'm not saying that we ended up having all these different kinds of cultures here because, like the white settlers and all that stuff like that were good people. I'm just saying that with what we have now, obviously we didn't do that stuff. But again, it's all about the fact that we're trying to amend what happened so long ago. Which again I think that's an admirable thing. I mean, I think it's the right thing to do. And again, I feel like people just always point. Yeah, they always keep pointing. I'm like, how can you point at a country that looks like a freaking Catholic school in Texas, bro? Like,
yeah, I know, and I would agree. And so I will say, kind of two things from your point: amending our wrongs in the past. So here, I'll give my first point before I give the second point. First point is, I think, like, obviously we still have a long way to work to make things equal for all different types of categorizations of people, right? My personal belief is that, yes, there's definitely inequality gaps in sex, in race, in wealth, that shouldn't be as lopsided as it is. With that being said, it takes a long time to change these old mindsets, right? People have to either learn or die.
Yeah.
So it takes a long time to change these mindsets. But the issue, in my opinion, is you can't voice an opinion without it being attacked. For example, you say that, and this is my second point, you say that you believe that it's right to have like kind of reparations for past behavior that of people who did shit before we were here.
I don't know if I would say I don't know about reparations. It's more about like it's okay that we recognize what happened and that we're trying to like at least the people that are interested are trying to like move forward and like make sure that everyone is heard from here on out, instead of like the way it was all the way back then, where it was just like so lopsided,
Yeah. And so I would say, recognize, and that's the thing, and that's a big word, is recognizing where we came from and where we still are, and trying to like change it for the better. But and here's my opinion is, I don't want to have, and again, I know I'm a fucking white man, so take it with a grain of salt, but why should I feel guilty for things that people did that have, like, I don't do those things. Like, and I will say this, and if someone disagrees with me, tell me, but I really don't think anyone would. I treat everybody how I believe they should be treated, and how they treat me. If you're a good person, I don't give a fuck what you look like, how you act. If you're good, if you're cool towards me, and like you're not hurting me or anybody in my family, I see you as equal.
Yeah.
So I don't think that I should have to pay reprimands or reparations to any group of people because of shit that like somebody else put them through. With that being said, I know that they went through it and it's fucking awful, and like I'm an ally to you, but why do I like now have to like, I don't know. And I don't know if I'm really articulating my thought like well, or if it's sounding terrible, but the point I'm trying to make is, if let's say you were on the standpoint of, yes, we need to give reprimands to a group of people because of what they went through. Okay, I respect your opinion and I disagree. Doesn't mean that I hate you for it.
Yeah.
Now, that's the thing. Like, if I said this, well, I did just say it. There's probably people, if they heard it, like if a large group of people listened to this podcast and they heard that, they would fucking blacklist me for it. And like, all right, well, fuck that guy. It's like, that's just my opinion. It's not like I hate any group of people because of it. So it's like, we're not allowed to have, we want to be diverse, but we can't have diverse opinions. You know what I mean? And that's the part that's so fucked up.
Yeah, and I feel, and to any, I mean, yeah, again, I don't know how many people listen, but like, if anyone's listening, if somebody disagrees with you and you think that you need to change their opinion, the last thing you should do is make them feel evil and bad for it, because that's gonna be, you know, like the lasting memory of their association with that topic. You know what I mean? Like, if you're like, I don't think I should be reprimanded, everyone's like, you're fucking evil, a piece of shit, like white settler, you know, all that kind of stuff. Like, it's just, people just forget that, like, once you have that conversation with that person, to you it was like a 10-second interaction on like Twitter or something like that, but to them, like, they're gonna remember it, and they go on to live their life for the rest of their life. And they're gonna remember how they were treated when they just, I don't know, brought up their concerns and like just any questions or any thoughts that they had about it. You don't want to shut down someone's thinking, because then that usually makes them act in the latter of the way that you wish they would act. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Anything. I mean, even something as simple as like your mom bitching at you to put your laundry away. It's like, you're not gonna do it. Same thing with other stuff. You know what I mean? Yeah.
When people tell you not to do something or to do something, you do the other thing, because you don't want to be told what to do. And if someone shares their opinion with you, now granted, there's people who share opinions in a very mean way, and that's hard to deal with. But if someone's just sharing your opinion with you and like they're not being hostile or aggressive, don't be hostile and aggressive with how you, even though how much you care about it and you can disagree to your core being with what this person's saying, you don't have to like hate them for it. Talk about it, especially you're not going to change their mind if you, like you said, come off the rip and start like attacking them and their opinions. Just have a conversation and listen to it. And that's really why I wanted to start this, is because I'm sure there's several people who I have different opinions from. Not saying mine's right or theirs right, but I want to make sure I'm hearing all of them and not just, and that's the thing I hate about labels too. And I'm kind of jumping all over the place here, but my mind's running a million miles per second. That's the thing with labels too, is like you said, you don't want, or you said something about like, don't make this person feel like guilty or something, because if it sets off like a wrong foot. And now when they leave that conversation, they'll have like a bad taste in their mouth of you.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
So that's the thing I hate about labels. It's like all this, like this whole, like this past year, and it's probably amplified because it's social media, especially Twitter. It was like, you know, white people, you know, should feel guilty for this. White people, and I was like, like why all white people? And the same thing, it goes for the other side too, is like, not all black people are committing these crimes at these protests. In fact, most of the time it seemed like it was white people doing those crimes. So it's like, why do we have to fucking put labels on everything? Because now, even though I know like I treat everybody equal, it's like, well, now I feel attacked because it's like white people all suck. It's like what you saw on Twitter. It's like, no, they don't all suck. Just like black people don't all suck. Just like I shouldn't feel guilty for something I've never done. But
I hate to always beat a dead horse, but that's what I mean, is like they're driving the narrative on all these news networks that we are each other's enemies, and then people are convinced, and then they start to really believe it, and then they go on Twitter and they start saying that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? And anyone who opposes them, they start realizing, oh, anyone who says or thinks or does anything differently than me is my enemy. And I'm like, no, the people that are your enemy are the people that you don't even see, the people that you don't even know, the people that are controlling everything that you digest. You know what I mean? So, and what you were saying about, you know, you treat everyone the way that, you know, doesn't matter what they are or what they look like or age, gender, sex, anything like that, you know. And that's it. That's the case for a lot of people. For most people,
I would say for most people.
No, yeah, for most people. And the problem is like the only way, again, to keep driving home the mindset of like treat others the way you want to be treated is to just like live your life that way, so that other people live their lives that way. And then when you have kids, you raise them to live their lives that way, and then they touch different people with that mindset. You know what I mean? It's all about just like, it sucks, but it's a slow, infectious spread of like that really good mindset. And I think it just takes generations for it to happen. And I think, again, a lot of people realize that, hopefully a lot of people realize that in the summertime. And I think that's why they felt so hopeless and so like drained from everything. A lot of people had to like, personally, I took like a month or two off social media. I was like, I just can't keep seeing this shit. Like, I just hate seeing all the evil and how just vicious people are towards each other. And I'm like, I feel like what I was just sitting there, I'm like, what is the point of all this? Like, can we all just live in peace? You know, I mean, like, can we all just like love one another and like you know, support each other? And it was just really difficult to just like feel like the good messages were just kind of being drowned out by people just attacking each other. And like, even when the overall message was like treat everyone equally, people were still calling each other out, like specifically because of their differences, just like, no, fuck you, white man. And then like, of course the white man's like, no, fuck you, you know, like the people on Twitter, it's like saying terrible things to each other, things I couldn't even imagine saying to somebody else, honestly. And I'm like, these are strangers. And again,
because behind a keyboard.
So. You just say whatever you want. Again, it's a 10-second exchange to you, but to them, they're gonna it's just gonna keep fueling the fire. So I guess what I'm saying is someone approaches you that way, just try to understand that maybe they're just passionate and like just as angry and just as confused as everybody else is. And to just like accept them with just, you know, I'll listen to what you have to say. That's like the way, I think that's the remedy. It mostly is just be like, you want to talk about it? You know what I mean? Because a lot of people just like feel like they aren't heard. I feel
every conversation doesn't have to be an argument. Fucking listen. And I like what you said earlier about like act locally, think globally. Because that's the thing too. Is like you said. I think in my opinion, I would agree with you. The majority of people do treat others fairly. Systems may not, like the systems we have in place as society may not. But how we treat people, which I think is the biggest thing we can do to change, in my opinion, for the most part, I think people are equal about it. The thing is, like we were saying earlier with social media, if we were just out posting about like treating everybody equal, well then it's like, it's one of two things. Either one, it's not interesting, so no one's going to pay attention to it. Or two, it's like when people do things to look good on social media, it's like, so it's going to be fake. So the only thing that spreads on social media is hate for one or one of the two groups of people. You know what I mean? Because that's just what catches interest. So you can't promote it via social media like you can with the hateful like perspectives. So the only way it's going to spread is just doing it in everyday life, which like we said, I think most people do that. It's just people do that and then they go home and they go on their like on social media and they see that, oh well, today I didn't have any interactions with somebody who was like treating me unfairly, but it seems like everybody else is, so I need to get pissed off about it.
That's the thing is like, even when you like how I said earlier, like if somebody really does come at you and is like attacking you for something that you say with goodwill, you know what I mean, or like with good faith, it's impossible to have that like open ear on like social media or Twitter to be like, do you like, I'm here to listen and like talk about it, but like you can't really do that on Twitter. It's just like, because it's just some kid with like an anime icon just bitching at you. You know what I mean? Dude. Like, not sorry, I like anime. I'm just saying, like, I feel like that happens very often.
It always is like an anime or like a dog, like just like somebody's burner account. And that's the thing too, is you can make unlimited accounts. So like if I was a really shitty person, because there's people out there that are shitty that exist, and I really wanted to just fucking spread my hate, I could make 10 accounts or 20 accounts and just make it seem like a lot of different people have the same idea as me. When really it's just me.
It's just one dude with a microphone, well, a metaphorical microphone speaker system of just opinions on the internet. Just fucking, hey, by the way, we all hate each other. And you should hate me.
Dude, and I'm pretty sure too, like you can make like a bot that like just creates a shit ton. Like you can make it look like 1 million people or like 100,000 people just like have the same opinion and have like these one-off sentences that support whatever you're trying to spread. Like it's not that hard to manipulate social media to make it seem like there's a movement.
Well, and the crazy thing is people know that bots exist, and yet when they read threads under a tweet, they still believe that they're real fucking people. I'm like, this guy doesn't have a face. There's no name in his information. Like, his bio is just, fuck you guys. And it's a random Photoshop picture of like a politician or something like that. You know what I mean? Like it's always those people.
Well, yeah, and then that kind of speaks to like how we get our news is, and I mean, even news channels I am skeptical of, to be honest with you, but especially like social media, it's because like you'll have accurate news on there, like if it's like about sports or if it's like from like, you know, who, but like then you'll have random fucking bots tweeting shit. It's like, well, I've seen like validated information coming from Twitter, so this could be validated too. So I just fucking take it as the truth and run with it. It's like, God damn it, because no one wants to do their own research. It takes so much time.
Yeah.
And I'm guilty of that too, but I also don't think it's all fucking truth on the internet. I think honestly, for me, social media is for like sport and music updates, and then comedy.
Yeah,
I take everything with a grain of salt.
Yeah, I basically, most of what I like consume in social media is like, my artists that I follow, like posting, well, either whether it's visual artists or musical artists or whatever, and comedians are always funny. They always have something funny to say about, or what I really appreciate about them is how they always point out just how stupid everyone's acting on social media all the time. They're just like, this all means so much. This is really productive, you guys. This is great. That's why they always point out just like, I don't know, just how dumb we've all been trained to be and act with each other. I
think that's what makes a good comedian.
Oh yeah, that's at least my kind of favorite comedy is how they just point out just the simple conditioning we all behave with in like normal life, or at least, I don't know, at least the way they act on Twitter. It's really funny.
So do you think, break away from this kind of, do you think that like comedy will die? And the reason I'm saying, well, actually, it sounds like you already know why I'm saying that. So
I think you think it's going to, but I think, if comedy does die, that's like the last, free thinking, speaking, like entertainment platform that is left. At least I think so. Where it can be like that real and that you can say whatever you want and it's not supposed to be taken seriously, but it's also supposed to be like what everyone else is thinking.
A little bit of truth, yeah.
That's what I mean. So I feel like if people stop thinking that way and we're conditioned to stop thinking that way, it's like that takes a lot of the joy out of life, I feel like, at least.
Oh, I agree. And there's been a couple comedians, and I can't quote any, that like have like kind of said this, like, how do you want us to be funny? Everything's gonna be offensive to somebody, and now we get canceled by a large voice on social media because we said the one thing that pissed somebody off. It's like, we didn't like, it's comedy. Like, that's the thing. But on the other side of the fence, you have people who think they're comedians that will say shit that they probably shouldn't be saying. They're not comedians. They're like, well, it's a joke. It's like, well, you crossed the line a little bit there.
Do you get paid to say them? No.
Yeah. But that's the thing too. Like, I hope comedy doesn't die because, but see, I feel like I can't even speak to it because I guess my group of me, like as like a straight white American, like middle class person, I feel like I don't get made fun of very much. Like, my group of people don't get made fun of very much in comedy. But then again,
you don't actually, we do.
Actually, I was gonna say, now that I'm thinking about it, yeah, we do.
So I think where it comes in is like, there's comedy, and then there's just like the people again on social media who are just like straight up saying just really rude, mean shit about us. And we're supposed to just like eat it because, like, I guess, because our ancestors were bad people.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you said that, I was like, oh no, I feel like I can't even scroll an inch on any social media platform without just being reminded how much of a shit-eating piece of shit I am.
Yeah, no, actually, as I like said, I was like, actually, I think, because even not just like about like being shitty people, but like white guys have like no rhythm, or like there's so many different like little bits I can like vaguely think of in my head where like the age group of like 20 to like 45-year-old white men just get completely just roasted. And I think but it's fucking funny because it's always got some semblance of truth to it, and it fucking kills me.
Well, like, that's the thing. Yeah, I mean, even the one you're saying, like, okay, yeah, I am a white person with rhythm, but the thing is whenever there's a motherfucker that has no rhythm, it's usually a white guy.
Yeah.
So it's like, I can't be too mad about it. But again, like, I mean, there's some things where you just brush it off and you just gotta laugh at yourself because, in the grand scheme of things, who really gives a shit?
Yep, and that's what Anthony on my podcast said. He said, we just got to be able to learn. That's the thing. No one can learn to fucking laugh at themselves anymore. Everyone takes everything so seriously, and I get it. I do get it. Certain things you had to take seriously, like people's rights, you had to take seriously. But when it's made in an environment that's supposed to be comedic, not on Twitter, but like in a comedy act, like... Dude, and honestly, Dave Chappelle is the best at this.
Dude, I was going to bring up Dave Chappelle because he's probably my favorite comedian.
He's like, he would never be able to do it if he was like a white comedian ever.
Oh no, absolutely not.
And
the shit he says, hell no,
dude. But that's the thing. Like, it's like I don't know. But the point is, he rides that line of like, is this appropriate or not? And that's why he's so fucking funny. Because he says he plays the stereotypes pretty damn well. Yeah. But he's just, but he does it to all races, and I don't know. I don't know the point I'm trying to make. I think he's just fucking funny, and like he has very controversial comedy.
Well, yeah, I mean, even recently, a lot of what I've noticed is a lot of comedians in their stand-up shows have to address the fact that they are joking, and I feel like that's a very unfortunate common theme nowadays. Like, I mean, Chappelle's done it in a couple of his recent specials, and even at one point he goes, "Oh, who am I? Well, I'm not going to tell you when, but if I ever know that you fucked something up, it doesn't matter when it happened, with who it happened, when you did it, what you meant by it. If I ever find out that you fucked up, you're finished." And then he goes, "Who's that?" "That's you, motherfuckers." And he's pointing at the audience. But it's the truth, though. I mean, there are things that you should be reprimanded for like your own past. But like if it's like 15 years ago for using certain language that was more accepted back in the day, I feel like it's just like, okay, you think you're doing something here, you're not doing anything. It's like that hyper response to anything that is deemed, inappropriate or bad because of how people have been trained to act on social media now. They're like, oh, when I see something bad, I have to announce and I have to tell everybody that it's bad and that I recognize that it's bad because I want everyone to know that I'm not bad. That person's bad. Put the spotlight on them, talk to them about how bad they are, and then keep that spotlight off me for a while. You know what I mean?
Well, and I was the one who found them, so I'm good. I must be good.
Yeah.
It's so fucking annoying, dude. But, oh, fuck. Dude, this happens way too often than it should. I'm too young for just be losing my mind. But, you were saying... What were you just saying?
I was saying how people will... Well, it was more about the bit where like people are like reprimanding people for what they said 15 years in the past when it was inappropriate, and that they're not actually doing anything, and how they feel like they were just basically what I was saying is like now people are trained to see that whenever they see something bad, they have to recognize it and address the fact that they know it's bad.
Yeah. So I don't know if this was what I was gonna say, but this just came to my head now. The thing is, I want to know who the fuck is doing these things because. No matter who it is, as soon as somebody's accomplished something, someone will find something bad about them. But I feel like everybody I know doesn't do that. So who are these motherfuckers that... It's probably people that just stay home, honestly. But...
I mean, what you can do is you can literally take someone's name, put it in quotes, and then like put another word in quotes. Let's say I wanted to look up like... Dave Chappelle, Sloppy Joe. Anytime he's ever said the word Sloppy Joe before, you can find it. And I'm not going to say a bad word or like any word that you know the colorful language Dave Chappelle uses. Oh. So, or like let's say you take any white person, you can do the same thing with them. Like Eminem just recently caught flag for a lot of like the music he used to make. So all they really had to do was just like look up Eminem with like any ad lib of just bad words, or like now that are deemed what's the word for it? Like hate speech. Yeah, like any kind of hate speech word you can just like, and they can do that with anybody. It's like some people just get so bored they're like, you know what, I'm gonna ruin this celebrity.
And that's the thing too is like, so you were saying like people will say shit like 15 years ago because it was more acceptable, and even if it wasn't more acceptable, like let's say it was just like a couple years ago, like the people said it without knowing like that it's unacceptable. Like it's like. Maybe in society, if let's say I used the word fag 3 years ago. Yeah, maybe I shouldn't have been used, but I was using it carelessly. Like I wasn't using it to like call out anybody. So why are you canceling me as if like I hate anybody who is gay? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like people need and that's a little bit like two-sided. People need to learn what words mean before using them. But also we shouldn't fucking put them to the cross because they used a word carelessly. Yeah, in my opinion. But
I mean, and again, like I feel like people nowadays, like as soon as they catch something, they just assume the worst in the other person. They're like, oh no, you meant it the evil, totally terrible way that makes people hate their lives. You know what I mean? Like it's almost never. I mean, at least I hope it's never. Almost stuff like that is like almost. I don't know, I feel like people are just trying to paint. Like their own, like whatever context the person used it in, they always try to paint their own version of it. Like no, like they meant it in this like super hateful, polarizing way. And again, I'm not saying any celebrity or anyone who's famous who has, said some pretty terrible things in the past or whatever you consider to be terrible. Again, it's not the right response to just like completely just like put it all over the place and just like ruin their career. Like I'm sure they know that it was the wrong thing to do. And that's the thing is people be like, oh no, it doesn't matter. It happens long ago. Nothing happened to them before. It's like, we're going to make it something happen to them about it now. And I'm like, what's the point in that? I'm sure they understand how bad it is.
Everyone fucks up, dude.
Especially anything that happened more than 3 years ago. And again, it sucks because like, again, people think that we're a lot farther ahead in this as a society, like at least with like our like open-mindedness and like our current thinking with like, with like gender and sexuality and all that kind of stuff. So I feel like, again, just in the last 5 years, like, or at least like, I feel like 5 to 8 years, it's like just put the like pedal to the metal in terms of all that stuff. So I mean, like, again, I'm not saying if someone said anything bad more than that amount of time ago that it shouldn't be recognized, but again, it's not something that should be taken as seriously as if somebody said it today. You know what I mean? Yeah,
but I'll still say, like, for one, canceling anybody for what they say is annoying because it's like, what offends me does not necessarily offend you. So, like, as society, we don't have rules written down that say what words are offensive. So we have to just speak freely and hope that we're not offending anybody. And if we are, then tell me and maybe I'll learn, but don't fucking kill me for it because now I have to walk on eggshells with everything I say. But another thing that's annoying is like, you were saying like 3 years ago or 8 years ago, if you said something, maybe that should be forgiven, but not a couple years ago. And it's like, well, then where's that threshold of when things can be forgiven? Because I'll say, like, for example, let's say we were talking about something today, or let's say I said some shit like last week that was offensive, and then we talk about that topic today, and you change my perspective. Well, I'm leaving this conversation different than I was the week ago that I said this thing that offended you. So even though it wasn't 3 or 4 or 5 years, it was a week, and I've still changed my perspective, so I wouldn't use that word, or I wouldn't have that opinion now. You know what I mean? So it's like, when's that timeline of like when we should kind of just let people off for what they say?
I guess, again, it comes down to just, it's like an overtime thing. So the reason it wasn't as big of a deal is because like not as many people were saying like, if let's say like, oh, your friend goes, hey, what's up, fag? And you're like, oh, that's not cool, dude. You know what I mean? It wasn't as common for someone to say that's not cool.
No.
Back then. So now I feel like it's about more just saying like, it's more common for people to just like, continuously, whenever they hear something, just be like, hey man, like maybe just like don't use that word. You know what I mean? And like that's when it kind of just slowly becomes more and more erased from everyone's like vocabulary. As in like, just like, if they're just shooting this shit, like that shouldn't really exactly be like a common. There are words that shouldn't be so commonly used or so freely used, especially in the context that like, if it's like, especially if it's like a hurtful thing that like people are like, hey, you know what, maybe we should just like think about what we're saying here. So I don't think there's really like a threshold or like a timeline of it. It's just, again, one of those things that kind of has to just like slowly make its way out. The more people address, let's just not say this in this way anymore,
Yeah.
And it just takes time.
Everything fucking takes time.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is a good time to wrap it up here.
Yeah.
So the way I always like to end these, Angelo, is asking everybody for their mental health tip. So anything that you do to help you achieve good mental health, or anything that you do to kind of help you, correct any bad mental health days.
Okay.
Or weeks.
So in terms of like a Band-Aid solution, if you're just like having a bad day, I always just like, remind myself, no one's taking this as seriously as I am. No one really cares if I mess up. In the grand scheme of things, like, my small mistakes don't mean anything. So it kind of helps me like just breathe and just like understand, just kind of just, let's just keep going. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. If destiny exists, so be it. If I can control what's going to happen, even better. Again, everything's insignificant. So I just think like, everyone has their bad days, but as long as I keep, picturing what I want and picture like the life that I want and like try to like live that way as truly as I can, and I know something good's going to happen, because I feel like you can't keep putting energy into something in the way that you know would yield what you want. There's no way you can keep putting energy into something and nothing happens, you know. I'm like a person of science when it comes to that. Like that's kind of how science works. It's like you can't, like energy just can't just disappear, you know.
Yeah.
It's always going to turn into something as long as you're doing what you think you're supposed to be doing, and you just keep consistent over time, you're going to achieve it. So that always gives me like some kind of like, you know, clarity and some kind of like calm of mind or peace of mind, I guess is the word to say. But in terms of like setting myself up for like having good mental health, I think it's really good to it's gonna be like super, I feel like I'm like Dr. Oz or something.
No, whatever.
Everyone, I mean, my my New Year's resolution this year was to actually dial in a sleep schedule, like a really good sleep schedule involved with like, not like 2 hours before I go to bed. I always make like a sleepy time tea or something like that, and I take melatonin and I go to sleep at like 10, and I make sure that I'm like well rested every single day now, like during the week especially. And at first to start off, it's like a joke, because like, you know, my mental health, or not my mental health, my sleep schedule was so messed up. But now it's like I got into the point where I have like this sleep time routine where as soon as I just smell the tea, or I take the melatonin, like I'm already tired, you know what I mean? And that has like helped fuel me through like even like my worst days, where like if I was more tired or like more irritable, that could just been like I could have just washed the whole day, but I'm able to like, you know, catch myself before I fall, and I'm able to, you know, just pick up where I left off when I'm having like a really bad day. So
is melatonin, that's not like a sleeping pill, is it?
No, it just kind of helps trigger your body to like start relaxing and get ready for bedtime, basically. So I take it like an hour before I go to sleep. But again, I think even if melatonin doesn't work and someone wants to tell me I'm a fucking idiot, they go for it. But I think what's happened, it's become such like a conditioned thing for me, to where I take it and I know I'm supposed to be getting in bed and I'm supposed to be getting tired. So like it kind of helps me like unwind and just like be ready for the next day.
Okay. I mean, even just having a sleep schedule, I would say. So melatonin might work for you, but maybe it doesn't work for whoever's listening. But getting a sleep schedule, I would agree with you. That's a good fucking mental health tip.
Dude, it's been like 4 or 5 months of like solid sleep.
Yeah, it's a different person.
I don't care what I'm missing after 10:30 p.m. anymore.
Yeah.
Like I can't even remember the days where I'm in college and I'm like staying up to like 3, waking up at like 7:30, you know.
Dude,
don't miss it.
I know. I will say sometimes, like during the NFL season, if there's like a good like Sunday or Monday night football game on, I'm like, fuck, I got to go to bed at 10, but I really want to watch this. So that's like the only time where I get a little bit of like FOMO. But other than that, 10 p.m. hits, fuck it, I don't give a shit.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
And eventually you realize just, you know, how beneficial the sleep is, to the point where you're just like, I cannot ever imagine going back to whatever absolute
5 hours of sleep,
horrible idea. Yeah.
Yeah, it's wild. But okay, that's both good tips. So thank you for that. Angelo, thank you for coming on. This is where I have to do the formalities. So if anyone would like to be a podcast on the Jesus Christ, if anyone would like to be a guest on this podcast, please reach out to me. My Facebook and Instagram is TIMM Podcast, or you can send me a text if you know me, or if you don't know me, fucking find a way to get a hold of me. If you're listening to this, you can probably figure out how to get a hold of me. So anyway, with that, see you guys next week. Bye.